the final days of World War II. While Berlin collapsed into fire and smoke, Adolf Hitler's empire was dying. German cities burned through the night. Millions fled across shattered roads. The Nazi military was collapsing on every front. But amid the chaos, something else was disappearing: gold, trainloads of it, not just government reserves, but jewelry, wedding rings, coins, religious artifacts, family heirlooms, entire national treasures stolen from occupied Europe. By 1945, Nazi Germany had accumulated one of the largest collections of stolen wealth in modern history. And then, much of it vanished. Even today, historians still ask the same haunting question. What happened to Nazi gold after World War II? Because the deeper investigators searched, the stranger the story became. Some treasure was found hidden inside underground salt mines. Some appeared inside Swiss banks. Some was recovered from lakes and tunnels decades later, and some may still remain buried somewhere beneath Europe itself. But this story was never just about treasure. It was about greed, war, power, and one of the darkest crimes in human history. The Nazis did not simply conquer countries, they stripped people of everything they owned before sending millions to concentration camps. And as Germany collapsed, Nazi officials became obsessed with hiding what they had stolen, because they knew the Third Reich was dying, and when empires fall, secrets disappear with them. But the reality behind Nazi gold was even darker than most people imagined. To understand where the gold went, we first need to understand how the Nazis got it in the first place. When Adolf Hitler came to power in 1933, Germany was economically broken. The country was humiliated after World War I. Millions were unemployed. Inflation had devastated ordinary families. Hitler promised recovery, he promised strength, and eventually he promised empire. But building that empire required enormous amounts of money and war. As Nazi Germany expanded across Europe, the regime developed a massive system of organized theft. Austria, Poland, France, Belgium, the Netherlands, Czechoslovakia, every conquered nation followed a similar pattern. German forces entered, governments collapsed, and then the looting began. Central banks were emptied, gold reserves seized, factories dismantled, museums stripped of priceless artwork. Entire economies were absorbed into Hitler's war machine. But the most horrifying theft happened on a personal level. Jewish families across Europe were forced to surrender everything they owned. Homes, savings, businesses, jewelry, even hidden gold sewn into clothing or buried inside walls was confiscated. At concentration camps like Auschwitz, arriving prisoners were stripped of valuables immediately. Wedding rings taken, necklaces removed, gold fillings extracted from teeth. Human beings became inventory. The Nazis documented everything carefully: every gram of gold, every stolen asset, every confiscated possession. Historians estimate the Nazis stole billions of dollars worth of wealth during the war, and much of it came directly from Holocaust victims. Gold helped fund the Nazi economy. It purchased supplies, supported military operations, and strengthened Germany's financial system during wartime. Even neutral countries became connected to the system. Swiss banks processed large amounts of Nazi-linked gold during the war. International financial networks quietly moved assets across borders. Some institutions later claimed they did not fully understand where the gold originated. Others almost certainly knew. But by 1944, Germany's situation was collapsing rapidly. The Allies advanced from west and east. Bombs destroyed German cities nightly. Fuel shortages crippled the military, and inside the Nazi leadership, panic began spreading because they understood something terrifying. If Germany fell, the world would discover everything, so they made a decision: hide the gold. As Allied armies pushed toward Germany in 1944 and 1945, mysterious transfers began taking place across occupied Europe. Gold was moved secretly through railway systems. Witnesses described heavily guarded trains traveling at night. Some carried sealed crates, others transported artwork, documents, and valuables. Nobody fully knew where everything was going. Even inside the Nazi government, secrecy became extreme during the final months of the war. Different officials hid assets independently. SS commanders buried valuables in forests and mountains. Bank officials relocated reserves into underground vaults. Nazi leaders planned escape routes funded by hidden wealth. Rumors spread everywhere. Gold hidden beneath castles, treasure buried inside alpine tunnels, secret vaults concealed beneath lakes. One idea became especially important to Nazi leadership: the Alpine Fortress. Some Nazis believed Germany could continue resisting from hidden mountain strongholds in Austria and Bavaria after Berlin fell. Whether the plan was fully real or partly propaganda remains debated today. But one thing is certain: huge amounts of valuables were moved towards southern Germany and Austria during the final phase of the war, and then came one of the greatest discoveries in World War II history. In April 1945, American soldiers entered the Merker salt mine in Germany. Deep underground, they discovered a hidden treasure beyond imagination: gold bars stacked inside vaults, foreign currency, rare artwork, jewels, massive reserves stolen from across Europe. The Nazis had hidden billions beneath the earth. Photographs of the discovery shocked the world: American soldiers standing beside mountains of Nazi gold. But the discovery also created a terrifying new question. If this much treasure had been hidden underground, how much was still missing? And investigators quickly realized something disturbing: a massive portion of Nazi wealth had completely disappeared. However, the truth became even darker in the months that followed. After the war ended, one story spread across Europe more than any other: the story of a missing Nazi gold train. According to rumors, during the final months of the war, German officials loaded enormous quantities of treasure onto armored railway cars in occupied Poland. Gold bars, jewelry, priceless artwork, secret documents. And then the train vanished. Some believed it disappeared inside hidden tunnels beneath the Owl Mountains. Others claimed retreating SS soldiers buried it before Soviet forces arrived. Over time, the so-called Nazi gold train became one of the greatest treasure mysteries in modern history. Treasure hunters searched forests for decades. Excavations began repeatedly after supposed deathbed confessions revealed possible locations. But no confirmed gold train was ever found. Still, the legend never died. Because Europe after World War II was filled with similar stories: hidden vaults, buried treasure, missing convoys, and sometimes those stories turned out to be true. In Austria, valuables were recovered from lakes years later. In Germany, hidden caches continued appearing decades after the war. Stolen artwork resurfaced inside private homes and museums across Europe. The chaos of Germany's collapse created perfect conditions for disappearance. Documents burned, officials fled, entire military units vanished. Some treasure was destroyed, some was stolen again during the confusion following Germany's surrender, and some entered secret financial systems that survived long after Hitler's death. This possibility became especially controversial when investigators focused on Switzerland. During the war, Switzerland remained officially neutral, but Swiss banks processed large amounts of wartime gold. After the war, pressure mounted to investigate whether some of those assets came directly from Nazi theft operations. After World War II, governments launched enormous operations to recover stolen Nazi assets. Investigators searched mines, castles, bunkers, lakes, and tunnels across Europe. Their mission sounded simple: find the treasure, return it, restore justice. But reality was far more where the greatest secrets disappeared forever. Part 6. Hitler's Final Days. By April 1945, Berlin had become a nightmare. Buildings burned across the city. Artillery shook the streets day and night. Soviet forces closed in from every direction. Inside the Führerbunker beneath Berlin, Adolf Hitler waited for the end. Around him, loyal officials argued, panicked, and planned escape routes. Some still believed Germany could survive somehow. Others knew the truth. The Third Reich was finished, and amid this chaos, one question haunted Nazi leadership. What would happen to everything they had stolen? As Berlin collapsed, destruction spread through government buildings. Documents were burned by the thousands. Financial records disappeared into flames. Secret files vanished forever. When people hear the phrase Nazi gold, many imagine secret vaults and hidden treasure. But behind every stolen object was a human life. A family forced from their home, a child separated from parents, a prisoner arriving at a concentration camp. The Nazis transformed theft into an industrial system. Victims arriving at camps surrendered belongings immediately. Suitcases piled into storage rooms, jewelry sorted carefully, cash counted, gold collected. Even after death, victims were stripped of anything valuable. The scale of cruelty became almost impossible to comprehend. And after the war, survivors faced another devastating reality. Most would never recover what was taken from them. Entire communities had vanished. Documents proving ownership were destroyed. Homes were occupied by strangers. For many Holocaust survivors, the loss was not only financial, it symbolized erased lives, destroyed identities, broken generations. This is why the search for Nazi gold became emotionally powerful around the world. Because it was never truly about treasure, it became a search for justice, a search for acknowledgement, a search for memory. During the 1990s, new investigations uncovered previously hidden records connected to Holocaust victims and wartime banking systems. The discoveries shocked the world because even decades later, traces of Nazi empires built on fear, violence, and stolen wealth eventually collapse. The Third Reich vanished into ruin. But the scars it left behind never truly disappeared.